All right, Chief, let's talk about domestic violence in the department. What I've been able to discern since 2010, there have been 10 officers involved in domestic violence incidents.
Yes, and there's been a certain outcome on those with an employment action leading to termination. And we've been firm on that, and we're going to insist on continuing that firm stance against family violence. Now, I understand there's research that shows the stress of the job may play out at home, but that's just not an excuse to ever hit a woman or be involved in a domestic violence situation if it's a female, male, or whatever the family issue is that may play out as violence. We're going to stand firm on that issue.
I know we're all human, either reporters, police officers, but there are some different expectations for those who wear the badge, right?
Sure, it taints the badge. We have a high standard from the public, and we fully accept that high standard that we're going to be making decisions on people's freedom, and we're going to be making decisions on people's prison sentences and making arrests, and then to have that you be the person who then commits the crime, but then you try to turn around and be the person who decides that type of outcome, we just have to be at a higher standard. And we fully accept any police officer worth their salt, fully accepts that high standard of professional conduct that the law enforcement community is held to.
What types of things are you considering, or are you considering some additional training, counseling, what for the men and women in the department? And let me preface that by saying you've started a special kind of domestic violence unit. You're asking people, you've started the questionnaires, visiting folks and asking questions so you can better understand domestic violence. I believe that started back in March.
Yes.
And yet, what about for the department?
Well, again, this is this profession is a calling, and the bottom line is it's not meant for everyone. This is a tough job. On our best day, this job is difficult, and particularly in urban policing. Some people just can't handle the stress. They look good on paper. We hire them, they're qualified, but they get involved with the job, and the job, they can't separate what's happening on the job with what's happening at home, and it plays out with domestic violence. It's a small number, but it paints the department with a broad brush, and citizens don't make the distinction between that small number and the majority of officers that do everything we ask them to do in a professional manner. And so sometimes a house cleaning and a purging organization of these officers that are not going to be able to figure out how to manage their home life and the stresses of this job is necessary. And we've got to be willing to, as leadership, make those tough decisions on officers' careers when they are involved in situations like this. They may be more suited for other types of careers rather than law enforcement, particularly urban policing. Maybe suburban policing is something that's less stressful. But in our jobs, again, the best day is difficult. And some of our crisis situations, it's almost unbearable. And you have to be able to manage that type of stress and not let it play out and use that as an excuse to go home and hit the people you say you love. And it's going to have a certain outcome with our employment action, and I'm going to stand firm on that.
But there's no way for you to be able to identify, I guess, folks who are in trouble until there is a major event, right?
One of the things that I try to convey to officers that's really important, the best police officers are the ones that have good family lives, who have hobbies, who have things outside of law enforcement, who's not trying to be a cop 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Because those are the officers that seem to get caught up in this, I'm Superman, I'm Superwoman, I don't need to decompress, I don't need to get away from this high stress, highly critical environment. And those officers, they leave the job, they go work off-duty jobs, they're constantly engaged in this hypervigilance. And we see where those officers get off track and they end up in these type of situations. And so we try to convey living a balanced life. That the best cops live balanced lives, and that helps you mitigate some of the things that happen on the job. We see the worst in people on this job, and you can easily see how that can be brought home and played out in your home life. And so to live a balanced life, I think, keeps you in perspective and can help you avoid these situations. The majority of the officers figure this out. This is less than 1% of the organization that we're talking about. But one incident is one too many. And again, the outcome is This job is not meant for everyone. And it's my job to ensure that the integrity of the organization stays intact and that the public maintains their trust and confidence in us. And what that means is you just can't do this job and commit family violence, period.
And so your action will continue to be the same in those cases where the accusations are substantiated.
Right, and again, I'm pretty clear on this. Sometimes the house cleaning is in order. Sometimes a purging of an organization of that 1% or less is what's appropriate. And leadership has to be willing to make those types of decisions for the betterment of the organization, and I'm willing to do that.
Okay. Let me ask you about this most recent shooting. Can you speak to that at all in this group that's holding a news conference today and all of that, Chief?
Right, I fully understand some of the comments I've heard from activists and some family members. But the most appropriate thing for me to say at this point is that we're going to conduct a thorough investigation. We're going to look at all of the facts. We're not going to put our head in the sand. We're not going to look away or brush anything under the rug. But we have the best legal system in the world. And it works its best when due process and the appropriate investigative steps are taken. Rush to judgment or rush an investigation because you have one witness saying one thing, but you have to actually corroborate everything with the facts, with the evidence. We have shown through my tenure here that we end up in the right place. But the steps to get there is as important as the outcome. If you missteps, have a very loose investigation, you have appeals where these officers have their constitutional rights to an attorney, and you skipping all these steps, you're going to end up losing whatever case you might make, or you're going to end up making the wrong decision on an officer's employment, where they should have been kept, and you fired them because you were knee-jerk reacting to what some other person that don't have the facts might think or say.
Well, no one can say that you don't dance to the music, that's for sure.
We are being very progressive in the way we discipline officers. There's always room for improvement through our training. There's always room for improvement through what types of disciplinary processes we have. But we're willing to look at it and make the tough decisions. We're not going to look away and not hear what the citizens are saying. We're going to fully accept and be transparent about everything we're doing. But the appropriate due process is a constitutional right, and we have to do things the right way and take the right steps, which takes some time often. And we're going to take that time, but we're going to end up in the right place.
Okay, very good, sir.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
All right.
You're just going to get a